Everybody. I'm Charlotte McGinnis, and as always, I want to thank you for taking the time to tune in and join me on Sundays or at your convenience, whenever that may be. And also, I really appreciate if you feel moved to pass this along via YouTube or Facebook or however you're watching me here today. Anyway, really glad to be here. It's been a terrific weekend. Had my dear friend Susan from Huntington, Susan Love, and her son Chris and her grandson Jack all here for the weekend. And Susan and Chris are playing in a tennis tournament in Asheville, and they're both in the finals. Chris is actually probably playing as we speak. Go, Chris, sending you good vibes. And Susan plays the finals at I think 1 o'clock today. So surrounding her with the greatest degree of vibes. So she plays well, and whatever will be, will be. So we've had a really good visit, and it's been lots of fun. And thank you, God, for such good friends. And it's wonderful to see, I knew Chris when he's 29 now, and he was in his mommy's belly. And now here he is, a great, great kid for many reasons. And actually, in a few weeks, he's going to be my guest on the Heart to Heart Soulful Conversation. And this young man has quite a story, and I look forward to sharing it with you. You'll be blown away from where he has come to in his life and based on where he was 10 years ago. So it's pretty cool. Um, the power of prayer and faith and trust and the power of 12 steps really turned this guy's life around. So before we go there, though, I do want to tell you that our heart-to-heart conversations are always wonderful. This past week, I actually had someone on who I'd never met. I still haven't met her in person, but wow, what an amazing person she is. She's a fellow minister in the Alliance of Divine Love Ministry, Stacy Piedrahita. She is something else. And if you didn't watch it, go back to my page or my YouTube channel, youtube.com/inspire YOUTV. She's come through a lot, and she is a force to be reckoned with. And her faith is something else, and her spiritual awakening, it's quite a story. So it's one worth listening to. Well, they're all wonderful. So as I said, I have Chris Love coming on in March. I've got lots of people great lined up, and I'm real excited about this one coming up this week, Wednesdays at 5, Reverend Rita Schiebeck. And she's an amazing, beautiful spirit. She's amazing. And she's got a beautiful energy. She's so supportive. And I know that you all are going to enjoy everything she has to say and get to know Rita a little better. I already know her, and I know how awesome she is. So there you have it. That is the scoop of the day. Well, actually, one more thing. I apologize. For those of you that are local, anyone who wants to come, our Namaste reunions are scheduled now, February, March, and April, for the last Sunday of each month. And if you want to join us, I'll give you the details. I'm going to be sending out a newsletter soon. It'll be on Facebook. So I'd love for you to join us. All are welcome. We really had a great time last time. So now we're going to get into the conversation. When I was last night, we were sitting in the living room behind me here, Susan and Jack and Ellen and me and Chris, and I was like, what should I talk about? They can't believe that I don't really write my talks. They just sort of come to me through me. And sometimes literally at 10:30 the morning it just comes through me. And I trust that Spirit will tell me what to say and what to do. And so far it's been the case. Well, last night, I don't even know if Chris remembers saying it. I said, what would you say when you got any topics? And he was just throwing out different ones, and one stuck. And I don't even know, I didn't say that, oh, that's what I'm going to do it on. And I just like, okay. So about an hour later, I was like, yeah, I'm going to talk about that. And it is acceptance. And Chris is a counselor for those with addictions, and he's a life coach, amazing young man. And So acceptance, I started thinking about that more, and then thinking about his journey and the 12 steps and beyond. And so what came to my mind is the Serenity prayer. And the Serenity prayer is not, although I believe, and I can't attest to this for sure, but I know that it's definitely the foundation of Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know where it came from. I don't know if it came from Alcoholics Anonymous, but there's now Gamblers Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, uh, Al-Anon, all sorts of 12-step support programs. So I know it's a part of those, but it doesn't matter where it came from, whether or not you're in a 12-step program or not. The Serenity prayer is all about acceptance. And it's a very powerful prayer that I think can be of great support for anyone and everyone. And I'm going to read it in case you don't know it or you forgot it or what have you. And it is, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So we're going to get back to that in just a minute, but it's such a powerful prayer. And just to say that, you just sort of feel, you feel the burdens lifted, right? So we're really asking for peace. We're asking for acceptance. And so what is acceptance anyway? And I hear that seems to be kind of a buzz for the past several years in a lot of the spiritual circles that I tune into, and it's acceptance, 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 right? And really, it is the key to peace when you really get to understand what it is. And I want to say good morning to all my friends. I've got let's see, Sandy and Sue and Janet. So good morning. Those are the only ones that pop up. I don't know why some people pop up and some don't, but anyway, good morning, everybody. So what is acceptance anyway? Well, acceptance is the process of allowing things to be as they are without actively trying to change them. Much like mindfulness, it entails letting any experience, positive, neutral, or negative, simply exist in life without trying to alter, avoid, or deny it. To some, acceptance comes easy. To many, acceptance is a process that requires conscious effort, skill, and wisdom. Practicing acceptance has long been seen as having a positive effect on people's lives. Psychologists have long posted that the practice of acceptance leads to better mental health, personal growth, and wellness. And that's key because I think that, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. I think when we're not in a state of willing to accept life on life's terms, it can definitely permeate our being and make us mentally sick, make us nervous, anxious, stressed, right? Or it can make us physically sick, right? Because, the thoughts that we continue to bring into our field and feed definitely have thoughts or things. And those thoughts have, with them comes feelings, vibrations, right? So if I'm not willing to accept that vibration will embed itself in parts of my body that are vulnerable and weak. And so it's kind of like they're trapped emotions, okay? And they, a lot of, if you go back to really understanding energy medicine, or good morning, Heidi, energy medicine, or if you want to look at vibrational medicine or the emotion code or the body code, many of these practices and philosophies and theories say that illness is trapped emotion. So if we're not in a state of acceptance and we're trying to force things, or we're going to remain angry and trying to change it or fix it, then somewhere in our body that's going to store itself, right? And then unfortunately, we become vulnerable there. And, each of our organs, for example, has kind of with it. For example, the liver is anger, the heart is sadness, the lungs are grief. So if we don't deal with these emotions, then and acceptance of whatever is in the world, what it is, right? What happens is those places become vulnerable, and generally, then we begin to see it physically, manifest physically. So it's just feedback. It's not a bad thing. This is just a classroom earth. Okay. This is not about, oh, good, feeling bad or guilty about, oh my God, why that's why, or, oh, I did this wrong. It's just about, recognizing, oops, that's where I need to look and do some healing work still. Thank you for the feedback. And also hold that state of positivity and knowing that, once we sort of clear up our field, okay, our vibration, then, we've learned the lesson and it no longer needs to be there, right? So very cool. So acceptance. It says, in addition, practicing acceptance enables us to be open to ourselves, to unpleasant feelings, and allow them to exist without trying to suppress trapped emotions or avoid them. It also provides an opportunity to move on quickly, more quickly from struggles and issues. When we allow the present moment to exist, we can more easily begin to work on what is important now without trying to deny or suppress it. Throughout history, the utility and benefits of acceptance have been emphasized in religion and spirituality. The often recited Serenity prayer, which we spoke of earlier, told you I'd get back to it, is an apt description of the principle of acceptance. So I will repeat that again for those of you that may not know it. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, all about acceptance. It is what it is. We thinking makes it so, right? Everything is neutral. I give everything the meaning that it has for me. So if we can just recognize that we're giving power to situations that maybe aren't in the greatest degree of love for ourselves and others, just know that, I recognize that now. I can change it. Yeah, Sue, awesome. Before Course in Miracles, I stuffed answer, cancer ensued. I'm learning, thankfully. And yes, Sue, I am so proud of you because I hold you up in the greatest degree of light and healing, and know that that you've been greatly blessed by this course. And you no longer need to stuff that anger. None of us do. Sue, you're a testimony to healing, and it's wonderful. So thank you for sharing that. And I'm grateful that you found the course and other means of healing for yourself. So here's some thoughts. Lao Tzu, the Tao Ching, he says acceptance is to be noble, to be whole, one with heaven and nature, with the enduring Tao. So we become, it's kind of like we become one with everything. You know, thinking of being one with everything. What did the monk say to the hot dog vendor in New York? Make me one with everything. Okay, corny, stinky joke. Sorry. Anyway, but here we're here to recognize through acceptance, through other means, to be one with everything. We are one with everything. We can't be separate from Creator. We can't be separate from each other. We're not separate from any grain of sand. We're a part of the one energy, the one mind, the totality of love. That's all there is. Lao Tzu also says acceptance of imperfection is attained through utmost emptiness and purest calm, through the return to the primal, to the root. All vain thoughts vanish and all cares fade away. And, imperfection. I was listening to something today. It was actually, I watched, what is it? Next Level Soul. It's a podcast. I can't remember the guy's name who's the host, but he's really good. And he has great guests on. And today he had Marianne Williamson on. And acceptance came up somewhat in their conversation. And they were talking, and how often, if you look back, Marianne's now in her 70s, I'm in my 60s, And often, how often do you look back at pictures, when you were in your 20s and 30s, when you were so critical and judgmental of maybe your body image or this and that, and then say, now, man, I would do anything to have that back, right? So this is, I think, such an important thing is, we're so critical of our perceived imperfections. And the truth is, we're we're not imperfect. We are perfect. We're divine. We're holy. We are exactly who and what we're supposed to be. And every situation and each moment is there for a holy purpose and as a mirror to where we are doing really well in our ascension or to where we still have some work. So acceptance, this is from John Kabat-Zinn, is an expression of love, of lived wisdom. And I think that, I think with age, and Marianne had made reference to that as well. I look back and, at my youth and I had wonderful experiences and not so wonderful experiences, and many successes and failures. And where I am today, I wouldn't go back 10 years, 20 years, 30 years for anything. Because, with, I think, maturity and aging, we become wiser, we become more accepting, we become less critical of ourselves and hopefully of others, and well, of both. And when we do that, as John Kabat-Zinn says, acceptance is an expression of lived wisdom. So, yeah, we learned, we grow. That's what we're here to do. That's the purpose, right? I like this also. It says, clearly recognizing what is happening inside of us and regarding what we see with an open, kind, and loving heart is what I call radical acceptance. So just know, I look at this, and this is from a gal, I don't know who she is. She wrote a book, Radical Acceptance. And there's a few great statements here. Tara Brach, you may know her. I don't, but I like what she says about acceptance. But, we just have to love it all because it all really is. I think it's all good. And I know I've been mentioning lately, I've had a miracle, which means a shift in perception with my relationship with the ego. Because, I always felt like this ego is at battle. I was always at battle with the ego. And now the ego, yes, its goal is to edge God out, acronym. Its goal is to keep us asleep and distracted and focused on what's not real. But it's also our friend because it's really showing us where we still need healing and what a great gift it's really given us. So I love the when these things come up. I don't like it sometimes, but I recognize it, maybe not in the immediate moment, but I do recognize it always as a blessing once I learn to accept it. And so she also, Tara says, I'm going to read a few more quotes that she says, as we lean into the experience of the moment, releasing our stories, we talk about that a lot, and gently holding our pain or desire, radical acceptance begins to unfold. We got to let go of these stories. These stories are so dreadful and they keep us so asleep and distracted. And good story, bad story, it's not where you are now. It's presence, forgive the past. All your past except its beauty is gone. Be present in peace and love. Forgive the past. And she goes on to say, on this sacred path of radical acceptance, rather than striving for perfection, what do they say in the 12 steps? Spiritual progress, not perfection. So rather than strive for perfection, but recognizing the progress, we discover how to love ourselves into wholeness. So I think being present in love. Well, Mary Beth, there's a face from my past. Happy day to you. Namaste. So acceptance, progress, not perfection. And I think anybody, I always say, I've got a very enlightened, aware, conscious following. I know all the players, most of you, and I know that you all are on a conscious spiritual path. Everyone's on a spiritual path, some conscious, some not. But I'm preaching to the choir here in a big way and teaching what I need to learn. And we're exchanging thoughts and ideas with each other. And lifting each other up. And that's really what this journey is about. So, but we need to love ourselves into wholeness. Those of you that I knew in Florida many years ago and were part of the Palm Beach Center for Living, which was the spiritual community I started down there with the support of Marianne Williamson, which was a wonderful thing. We worked a lot with the HIV/AIDS community. And we were very involved with the gay men in the community, but also the families and the children. There was a place, Hope House, that had actually Connor's Nursery was a beautiful place where they had AIDS babies there. And you could go and just hold and rock the babies and visit with them. And Hope House was more geared towards the families and the men who were dealing with it. And it was a beautiful, enlightening experience. And it was also very challenging. And there was a lot of sadness in this, on many levels, from many perspectives. But we were gifted with a bus, and it was a white, big van, actually, huge, 15-passenger van, and showed up, total surprise. And the gals that gifted our center with that had in huge letters our tagline, "Love Heals," and then our logo, and then the Palm Beach Center for Living, and it was awesome. And what a surprise, what a blessing, what a gift. But the Love Bus went all over Palm Beach County, and it was very cool. We had a lot of love in that bus. We transported kids and families and men and women, and it was really something. But the point I'm choosing to make in a long way is love heals. That's really what it is. We need to discover how to love ourselves into wholeness. So when we cultivate radical acceptance by relaxing our resistance, okay, that which we resist persists, relax our resistance to unpleasant sensations and meet them with non-reactive awareness. So instead of pushing against it, resisting, getting angry, defend, attack, that cycle, it's like the Course in Miracles says it only takes one to heal a relationship. And it goes on to say, that's the saner of the two, right? So it takes two to keep this craziness going. Well, same thing with how we deal with trauma, difficulty, sickness, relationship issues, whatever it is. When those unpleasant situations come, acceptance means that I'm choosing not to react. It's kind of like I just rise above, I'm watching it. And the Course goes on to say, you might just step back and observe with holding the Holy Spirit's hand, just, and you find the word interesting is commonly used in this scenario. So, oh, that's interesting. And so you're not like attaching emotion and needing to fix it and getting upset. So that is a huge part of acceptance, is just stepping back, being willing to see it another way. That too is a miracle. And so, often too, I think that we sometimes associate loss with grief. And sometimes, it's, we think, well, if I'm accepting, say, the loss of a loved one, or if I'm dealing with a situation, I've lost a part of myself, that it's sad. And, grieving is, I think, natural part of our humanity. And certainly this is not about stuffing, back to what you said, stuffing your grief or your anger, but it's rather about just recognizing that grief does serve a purpose, but hey, Seal, good morning. We're willing to move beyond that into a state of acceptance. So it's part of our process. So this is not about denial. Acceptance or non-reactive is not about denial by any means, but it's about being willing. The Course in Miracles says, I am determined to see this differently. And I think that's a powerful statement. And so I'm determined to see this differently, even though right now I'm really grieving and I'm pissed and I'm angry and whatever else. But I'm willing, Holy Spirit, or I'm determined, but I don't know how to do it. And I think just by that asking, we definitely get the answer and the support that we need every single time. Mark Nepo, he wrote that little, not so little book. It was called The Book of Awakening. I think that was it. Someone gifted me with that like many, many years ago. And it's a great little book, and it has, just little messages for the day and many things. Mark would usually bring in a quote, a powerful quote from someone, could be Hippocrates or Deepak Chopra or whoever. And then he would make his own statement about it and have an affirmation. It was really a sweet book. And Mark Nepo says this about acceptance. Ultimately, self-acceptance relates to the opening of the heart. It has to do with the long, hard journey of loving ourselves. Well, I know, ultimately, isn't that what this journey's about, is to love ourselves? It's all about that. Because if we really loved ourselves, we would not see anything but a reflection of that in the world. We would see the insanity, we would see the lovelessness, we would see the conflict, we would see the fear, but we would be above it, watching it without judgment. So that's our journey. I've mentioned this quote 100 times, if not 1,000. Those who see themselves as whole make no demands. There you go. So the more healed I am, the more self-aware I am, then guess what? I see the world as that. That's the feedback, right? The world is a mirror to what I'm projecting onto it. So we don't need the situations to change, but rather our relationship to it. And ultimately, that goes back to the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, sometimes it sums it up all right there. But self-love is the key to everything, ultimately. Thich Nhat Hanh, great, well, he's a guru, an enlightened being. He says, if you can recognize and accept your pain without running away from it, you will discover that although pain is there, joy can also be there at the same time. So I think that's so powerful. It's just be with it and breathe through it and bring the Holy Spirit into it, bring it into your heart. You don't want to push it away or stuff it. There's three things we do when the pain comes up, right? We project it and say, this ain't mine, it's your fault. So that's number one, right? Been there, done that. So it's like, I didn't do that. That's your fault. That's number one. Number two, we stuff it. Like, okay, I'm spiritual, or I'm not going to look at this. I'm just going to ignore it, and whatever reason, we just stuff it. And then that's when, guess what? Trapped emotions happen. Sickness happens. You got it, right? And then the third, and probably the highest option for our self-love and evolution, is to say, okay, Holy Spirit, I need help here. Show me another way. Because right now I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm sad, I'm fearful. And so are you going to project, stuff, or invite the Holy Spirit in? It's a moment by moment choice. Eckhart Tolle, what's he say about acceptance? When we fully accept that we don't know, that's a big one. We give up struggling to find answers with the limited thinking mind. And that's when a greater intelligence can benefit or can operate through you. And even thought can benefit from that, since a greater intelligence can flow into it and inspire it. And boy, that's been coming up for me lately, big time. And the Course even says, I do not know what anything, including this, is for. Therefore, I will not use my past experience to guide me, right? Well, when we fully accept that we don't know anything, we're only responding based on what our experiences and our programs are. Okay. We think we know all the answers, and we think, well, if I get another degree, and if I go read more books, and if I do this, and it's all part of our process. And I think it's a necessary part to a point, but it's kind of like, then you just throw all that out the window and say, well, it's served its purpose. Now I don't know anything. It's kind of like, a book I read many years ago. It was impactful for me. It was by Tara, T-A-R-A Singh, and it was called Keep the Bowl Empty. And if I'm stuffing that bowl, thinking my inner being with I know it all, okay, and oh, I need to get another degree or some more letters by my name. That's why, if you haven't noticed, I sort of even let go of my rev, because I somehow that just felt weird to me. I don't know. It's hard to explain. That's just me, and I don't know what it is. I don't want any labels anymore. I'm just me. But once we can sort of let that all go and our identity to it, and quit looking for answers outside, they don't exist. I think they can be useful in the process, but I know nothing, right? What was that show? I know nothing. That's probably a very enlightened statement. But the ego doesn't like that, because, yeah, I know everything. And if I don't, I'm going to read another book, get some more letters by my name, right? So anyway, just something interesting. So Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she was a saint and bringing her teachings on death and dying, and the processes, the stages, as she called it, 5 stages of death, moving from the anger to the fear. And I don't know the exact stages, but really, I haven't read that book in years, but it's powerful teaching. So if you are dealing with any issues of grief, I would definitely recommend On Death and Dying, her book, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. And she says, denial is usually a temporary defense and will soon be replaced by partial acceptance. So denial is a low-level part of the stages of awakening. It's a temporary defense. And sometimes, we do need these earthly tools, like a better way to say it, as a means of our awakening. But we just have to make sure we don't let ourselves stay stuck there. Temporary defense, I love that. And it will soon be replaced by partial acceptance. And if we keep on that journey and keep faithful and keep surrendering, then that we will ascend in consciousness into the surrender into the unknown. And that's where the good stuff is. She also says, if we have the strength and the courage to confront our emotions and accept every one of them as part of us, we can not only finish our unfinished business, but we also we have also seen people add months and years to their lives. So, again, the burden of these trapped emotions, accept them all. It's all good. Everything is good. It's all part of our soul contract. Everything is in divine order. Even if it feels ugly or looks ugly, it is all good. It's all holy and all divine. And I always go back to another, and I've mentioned this many times lately as well. As the Course in Miracles says, chance plays no part in God's plan. So everything is in divine order. It's here as a loving gesture, as a teacher, and it's up to us if we accept it as such, or if we're going to push against it and resist it and get angry and keep circling the horses. It's that, why is this happening over and over? Those patterns we've talked about for years. If y'all been around me, right? I pay attention to patterns. I was just speaking to Ellen this morning about a interesting pattern that with some individuals. I'm like, no, not doing that game anymore. I see it loud and clear, and yeah. So when we do that, and it's not, there's no animosity, there's no anger. It's not about pointing fingers, making wrong. It's just, like, okay, maybe I've played my part in that role enough, and let them do what they need to do. And maybe they were doing that for me. I don't know. Or maybe I was there to do what for them. But I do know there's no mistakes. And I know in this particular situation, I'm complete. And I'm finding that I've been on this, the more I get into my spiritual journey and surrender, I am recognizing so many situations and relationships, be it in organizations or friendships or business or what have you, that have served their purpose. And I don't have to defend it or blame it or judge it. It's just like, thank you, because I know that it was all perfect and in divine order. And Gautama Buddha, he says, serenity the Serenity prayer. Okay, he didn't say the Serenity prayer, but he says serenity comes when you trade expectations for acceptance. So, only expectation I have, expect a miracle. I used to have a t-shirt, expect a miracle. I do expect that. That is the only expectation. And I choose to be serene is to accept, ACCEPT, everything and know that it's all in divine order. Carl Jung, we cannot change anything until we accept it. Condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. So you can condemn and get into the battleground as much as you want, but it's just keeping that fire going. It only takes one to heal. Are you going to be the one to heal and bring peace? Or are you going to keep throwing fire at it, throwing fire at it? You're wrong, I'm right. We're seeing it in politics. I talked a few weeks ago about the micro and the macro, and the micro being my role, my purpose, hey, Sue, champ, happy to see you. There's our go get them in the final, Sue. But anyway, condemnation does not liberate, it oppresses. So we can't change anything till we accept it. So quit trying to push that boulder uphill, right? Byron Katie, and this is another statement that I refer to often, and I don't know if this was really came from her or who it really came from, but I love this. Life is simple. Everything happens for you, not to you. Everything happens at exactly the right moment, neither too soon nor too late. You don't have to like it. It's just easier if you do. Isn't that great? So everything is happening at its perfect time. It's happening for us, not to us. And we don't have to like it, but it's a heck of a lot easier if we do. Because once you know that everything is there for our highest good, it's like, thank you. You begin to thank those things. It's happening to us, for us, not to us. Big statement. And that's been one I've been really thinking about and integrating for a long time now. Carol, happy to see you. Another Huntingtonian. So anyway, Wayne Dyer, if I could define enlightenment briefly, I would say it's the quiet acceptance of what is. Enlightenment, I think that's what we're all here. We want to wake up and we want to be peaceful. We want to be happy. We want to be loving. We want to be kind. We want to be loved. We want to be useful. And enlightenment, I think those are all attributes of enlightenment. So briefly, very simple. That's one thing about Wayne. He was very direct and basic. And so you could really integrate what he taught because it wasn't so out there like, oh God, what the heck did he just say? Pretty much, you want to be enlightened? It's a quiet acceptance of what is. It is what it is. It's all perfect. Anything, did y'all ever follow? This gal was like my hero back in the 80s. Hold on. She was a spiritual author, lecturer, Shakti Gawain. Oh God, what was her book called that I loved? Oh, it was a classic. Okay, I can't think of it at the moment. But Shakti Gawain was so cool. I just thought she was awesome. And she was a big part of my, when I got into all of this new thought, these new ideas. And I don't even know what she's up to these days. I'll have to look into her. But she says simple, sort of like Wayne. And I liked when she came out like Wayne and others, you could sort of integrate it and relate to it. It wasn't so complex and difficulty. And I don't think spirituality and ascension and awakening has to be complex. It's pretty basic, really. Get your thinking mind out of it and just go to your heart. But Shakti says anything in life we don't accept will simply make trouble for us until we make peace with it. Well, it's that cycle, right? Those patterns. So it's just, if you don't accept it, you're going to, and you don't love it and integrate it into your being through forgiveness, then it's just going to make trouble until we make peace with it. So, and this is also very simple. Shen Yen says, I follow four dictates: face it, accept it, deal with it, and then let it go. So face it. Okay. Yep. Deal with it. Okay. Let it go. Face it, accept it. Okay, I accept it. And then you can deal with it, do what you got to do. The courage, change the things you can, right? And then let it go. So, and move on. And I think every time we do that, we're lifting that veil, we're feeling lighter, we're feeling more peaceful, we're more compassionate and kind to ourselves and each other. So, the last quote from the real enlightened being that walks the planet today. We all know who that is, right? Um, think of one person on this planet that I've never heard. Everyone likes her, and I'd never have seen anyone criticize this woman for anything. And I think she is an enlightened master. You know who I'm talking about? I'll give you a second answer. Who might that be? And she's not coming out as a spiritual being. She's definitely well known. She's loved by everybody. Anyone have any thoughts on who that may be? Guru? No, she's not a guru. Well, she is, but that's not her role. Okay, I'll give you about 5 more seconds. Anyone know who I'm talking about? Because I'm gonna close it with this statement from her. Okay, not that hard to figure out. Okay, Carol at least answered. She said, no, don't know. Okay, thanks for at least giving it a thought. Well, Dolly Parton, right? I mean, Oprah, yeah, Oprah's close, but I think I think Oprah has people who have feelings both ways about her. Dolly, I think everyone loves Dolly. It's wonderful. But Seal, I can agree with you on Oprah. She's awesome. But so Dolly, Guru Dolly says, the way I see it, if you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. So, yep, if you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. Accept it. Know that it's there for your good. It is all good. It's holy. It's good. Everything is well. And ain't that wonderful? So, let's work on our acceptance this week. Know that everything is in our best interest. It's all good. Put up with the rain. It's all holy. It's all good. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. If you want to remember Rita Schiebeck this week on Heart to Heart at 5 o'clock on Facebook and everywhere you reach me here. Okay. Have a great week. Much love. Namaste and peace. Take care.